You're listening to The Local Lounge. Have a seat with the DFW local music scene and your host, Zach Killian.
Hello and welcome to The Local Lounge on Talk Radio 1190. I'm your host, Zach Killian, and we're talking anything and everything about the local music scene in North Texas. It is the focus of this show to give you, the listener, a somewhat of a behind-the-music experience with local artists. While we sample some of their music, we're sitting down and actually talking to them about their experiences in the local music scene and getting some advice to start making music and sharing it with the world. You can also get us on the iHeartMedia app by typing in Talk Radio 1190. It's all about a chat with those musicians in the DFW Metroplex. Today, we've got two fantastic, multi-talented musicians from Dallas rock group The Orange, Scott and Melissa Tucker. How are y'all doing today?
We are doing fantastic.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
How's everyone doing out there? How's everyone doing?
I think they're doing pretty good. It's just a chillax Sunday night. But I wanted to ask you guys something first. I want to give people a taste of what your sound is, because we can't bring in people and not show them what you're all about. You guys have been played on the Loud and Local show, Debbie Sexton on 97.1.
Yeah.
So let's give you a taste of what they got. So we have a song called
I Want a Girl.
I Want a Girl.
I Want a Girl, yeah.
Let's go ahead and play that real quick.
Champagne, cocaine, she's off and she's off and she's off again. I want a girl, 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 I want a girl that wants to bang, bang, bang.
From their album Sharing Vitamins, they recently released
It was about a year ago we released Sharing Vitamins. April 11th, 2015. So it's been about a year and a half.
Birthday.
Yeah.
So it's your baby. Yeah, you guys recorded it on a reel-to-reel, which not a lot of musicians do that these days. Actually, I haven't even heard of one that did that in a long time.
Yeah, it was, we did it with Eric Delegard at Real Time Audio, and he's the guy to go to if you want to do reel-to-reel stuff. Got a really cool machine from the 80s, and it was a painstaking process, but I think in the end it turned out the way we wanted it to, you know.
It's definitely got a more raw-sounding vibe, and that's what I love to hear in music, because everything's just so synthesized, technological. The auto-tune, T-painting it. But what I really wanted to get into was a little bit of history before we get some advice out there to the musicians that are just sprouting up.
Who are we to give any advice?
Who are we? That's what we're about to ask. Who are you guys?
Just who are you? Isn't that from Alice in Wonderland? Just who are you?
You do that a little bit too well. You might want to get into voice acting at some point.
That's not a bad idea, man. I heard they make decent money.
They do. Alan Ayo up here, he's doing stuff for Funimation now. It's pretty
Dude, I love Ayo. I had noodles with him one time.
You had noodles with him?
Yeah, he helped us. When we headlined Granada, Ayo helped us promote it. They did a thing for us on the Edge, which was really cool. Ayo wrote on their Facebook page, you got to go see The Orange. They're awesome. I really appreciate that, and I'd love to have noodles with him anytime. So Ayo, if you're listening, hit me up.
Advice to all musicians out there, share noodles with people. You might make some connections that really helps you out there.
And vitamins. Share your vitamins.
Share your vitamins. Scott, so why did you get into music? Melissa, why did you get into music? Was it something that just happened as a child? You were playing piano and you're like, oh, this is pretty cool. I might get into this.
I mean, most people always say, well, my parents listened to the Beatles, and then I really started listening to music, and John Lennon saved my life. I don't have that story at all.
I remember being terrible at sports. And I remember hearing the orchestra play at my elementary school, and I decided I wanted to play the violin, and turns out I wasn't very good at the violin at all. The only thing I could play was Celine Dion's My Heart Will Go On and Cotton Eye Joe. And
she
that was
still
it.
listens to that, by the way, that Celine Dion stuff.
Hey, don't knock her. I actually really like her.
I don't know much beyond and I
that's what Houston.
Yeah. So Melissa's a classically trained musician, and my parents did listen to music growing up. Fleetwood Mac, there's a lot of Fleetwood Mac in our house going on.
Oh, my goodness. I remember that's all Dad played for years.
That record, The Last Tango, that came out in 87, that's a really good record.
Oh, yeah.
So we listened to a lot of Fleetwood Mac and stuff. Of course, the Beatles were around. My dad loves the Beatles. I'm not knocking the Beatles, but it's just people get stuck on the Beatles and can't move on. That's my deal with the Beatles.
So what bands really inspired y'all beyond Fleetwood Mac?
Oh, geez, man. When I was a kid, I liked Boston a lot. I guess realistically for my musical projects, I mean, Nirvana was definitely a huge one for me. Early Foo Fighters before Dave Grohl started writing songs with Miley Cyrus and hanging out with her. Definitely Stone Temple Pilots was a huge one for me.
The Deftones.
Oh, yeah.
Blur, Oasis, Suede, the whole Britpop thing from the 90s. I love music. A lot of 80s stuff too, Tears for Fears.
So-
That's why Orange Records are so all over the place. I'm a real mess, Zach.
Well, it's good to be a mess. You get a lot more of a vibe when it comes to your albums because you don't want to be just one sound the whole time.
True.
Turns people off. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what's like. I have a couple metal albums. I mean, that's all I listened to as a kid because I was angsty as hell. But then I look back, I'm like, it's the same beat the whole time. It kind of turned me off now. But I like variety in my music, and that's what you
Gotta
love
have
about it.
variety.
And
Gotta have
that's
variety.
what I really like about our CD is no song sounds exactly the same from one song to the next. You know, it's completely different. You have just it's insane. It's insane.
Into Me and I Want a Girl are completely.
Yeah, Into Me is different from everything. And then you listen to 30 Minutes to Midnight, and it goes on forever.
I
It's
had a
beautiful.
musician tell me last night, I've been playing some local shows, acoustic, most recently, and I had a musician tell me last night that when he got Sharing Vitamins, his favorite song was 30 Minutes to Midnight. And that's when I knew, like, all right, this guy, he's a legit musician.
Yeah.
Antonio Brazil from, now he's playing with Joey C. Jones.
Oh, that's a wonderful band.
But he used to be in a
Good
band called Four-Sided Circle, and Special Edward, my first band, used to open for them and stuff. So it's cool to kind of reconnect with old musicians that I've known for, years and years.
It's good to make these connections though, because you never know
Yeah.
what can be made. Just basically just having these people around for you.
Just friendship, man. I mean, we're all in this together,
not to sound.
networking, hanging out.
You don't want to be like over networking.
over networking.
You don't want to be a
selling it
social
too
climber because then you
hard
become a social pariah. And then,
oh, great,
and then,
this person again.
oh, what's that thing we were doing earlier? Hi, Bishop, or that?
Hey, I bet.
Yeah, hey, I bet.
I hate that guy.
So what would you guys say is, if you had to be a genre, what would your genre be for the band though? What would you classify yourselves as?
Jeez.
I would say we're definitely rock.
Yeah.
We played a lot of shows together, and it was definitely
But for those
rock.
those musician buffs that have to be like very particular, like, are you alternative rock?
Well, we've always
Probably
been
the closest thing to us, but yeah.
We've always been sort of considered a neo-psych band, a neo-psychedelic band, but there's all these young kids coming out with all these new psychedelic bands, and they're really psychedelic. And,
I don't think we're that psychedelic
yeah,
anymore.
we're not really that
A little bit more
psychedelic
straightforward.
anymore. We
You're not
kinda-
on stage with LSD or nothing.
No, it's just, I don't know, man. Like keeping variety. I was really into psychedelic bands about 10 years ago, and I still buy every Brian Jonestown Massacre record that comes out. Dude, I love like Soundgarden. I love, STP, Nirvana, Silverchair. I grew up with these bands. I had all their posters on my wall growing up, so I don't know. You experience new music, but you also kind of want to get back to the roots of, where you started, I think, to keep being inspired. I think is the right word.
You want to keep that inspiration going, and it keeps you driven. But there's also, when it comes to inspiration, it's keeping yourself tuned, keeping yourself solid, and keeping yourself going. And one of those ways is to keep practicing day in, day out, day in, day out.
And also having a positive mind frame while you're doing it.
Yeah, of course.
Because, as a musician and an artist, you're always, I don't know, the world's always against you.
Everyone's always slinging it to you.
Your parents are always telling you, get a real job.
Not our parents, though. Melissa and I's parents. My dad's an artist, so.
I know. It's always been free form for us. We can do
Laissez-faire,
whatever
which
we
is
want,
great.
and they've always supported us no
It's
matter
always good
what.
to have parental support, because there's not a lot of parents out there or family support that musicians get.
Yeah.
They're always saying, get a job that makes you money and you'll be happy.
Yeah. There's so much
Money
more to
doesn't
It's
life.
American
happiness.
thinking.
There's so much more to life than money. I mean, you have to have money to eat and live and pay rent or whatever it is. But I think a lot of the problems that people really have are rooted in money, like greed. I think that greed is probably the worst thing
And then
there
you,
is.
You see those musicians that are, I'm doing this so I can get paid and blah blah blah, and that's
a
the
turn-off
worst.
for me.
The worst reason to be a
Getting
musician
into
is
music
for money.
There's no money in music
there's
anymore.
no drive. There's no drive behind the music if
There's,
you're doing it financially.
I know.
There's no money in radio either. I'm just saying.
There's no money in music. That's like going to the desert for water.
Vouch for Will there.
Yeah, it's.
I'm going to the desert. Cold glass of water.
I want to swim in the ocean. Okay, have fun. Yeah.
So, anyways,
Now, before we go to break, I wanted to get into the topic of this. Practicing. Like, how often do you practice? Like, how important is it to keep yourself sharp when it comes to performing live and basically getting ready for the next record? record?
Well, that's kind of a funny one.
When I was a classical musician, you have to practice 4 hours a day to keep in shape. Your whole life is practicing. Mm-hmm. You don't have a social life. You don't do anything else other than that. And, with rock, it's a little bit different. It's a little spur of the moment. You feel the adrenaline. It just happens, and then it hits. And
let it flow.
Yeah. It's a little bit more organic and not so...
You can be over-rehearsed, I feel, as a rock band. I think if you're over-rehearsed, there's definitely parts of it that you should rehearse, like intros and outros and stuff like that. But generally speaking, I'm a very sporadic frontman and I'm a very sporadic musician, and so it's cool that
happen on stage.
Yeah, you never know what you're going to get at an Orange show, and I think that's why people have supported this band for 10 years now.
Yeah, definitely.
We've only put out, I guess we recently put out Sharing Vitamins, and we put out an EP before that, and the band's been around for 10 years. We're just really perfectionist about making records. However, for a local band to be at it that many years, you have to keep your show special, and you got to have something. You know what I mean?
Of course.
There has to be magic to your performance.
That reminds me of that movie Boogie Nights. He's like, there's magic on those tapes. There's magic on those tapes, and we got to take that magic to the record label, and then we can pay you.
Remember that? Speaking of that magic, we got to keep that magic going. We got to go to a break real quick. We'll keep boogieing.
I like to boogie.
We're going to go ahead and get into this break, and we'll get back into it, give you some advice from Scott and Melissa Tucker from The Orange right after this.
We don't care what you want to. It's like open up the door.
Hi everyone, this is George Miatis from the heavy rock band Sonar Lights, and you are listening to The Local Lounge.
I'm Ed Steele, winner of the Dallas Observer's 2014 Best Music Photographer in North Texas. You're listening to The Local Lounge. Have a seat with the DFW local music scene and your host, Zach Killian.
Howdy, howdy, hey. We're back with The Orange today. We got Scott and Melissa Tucker in, and we're talking about how they've gotten in the music scene, basically what you can do to develop your music, and we've gotten a little bit under the skin about how they are too. Now, I want to talk about performance. Performance is a key feature to developing your band and getting them known. Now, you guys have a very good stage presence, especially Scott. He is all over that mic stand.
And all over the floor sometimes.
Yep.
Now, what I want to get into your first time. The first time's always special.
Oh, man.
Now, what was it like performing for the first time in music in general for the both of you?
Jeez. Melissa, you want to go first on that one?
Well, man, I was about 10 years old, so, it's hard for me to remember the first time I was on stage, but I distinctly remember the first time I played with The Orange. I was opening the House of Blues main stage.
Really? At 10?
No. This is...
Shooting forward.
Yeah,
okay.
Because I honestly can't
We weren't
remember.
opening, we were headlining that night.
Oh, yeah. This was my opening night.
Oh, her opening night.
I was, I was a diva, and, I had shook the tambourine, and
we got her own dressing room and everything. Well, we all shared a dressing room.
But how did you get over it? Were you nervous being in front of a lot of people?
Oh, yeah. And the only thing that really helps stage fright is just to keep playing shows. If you only play a show once a year, then of course you're always going to be like,
Mm-hmm.
Just having faith that you're a good musician and knowing, even if, you kind of space out, you still know your parts, you still know what's happening.
Keep focused on what you're playing.
Just keep focused on what you're playing, and also just to have that moment of silence before you just kind of collect your thoughts and everything that you're supposed to be doing on stage.
Of course. Scott, what about you, man? I want to know what your first time was like.
Oh, man, my first show I played, I was 14. I couldn't actually stand and play the guitar at the same time. So I had to sit down and play in an office chair. And I'll never forget my first band, Special Edward. It was our first show. I was 14 years old, and it was all Nirvana covers, dude, and a Bush cover.
Was this at Laser Track?
No, this is at Mom and Dad's house. This is my 8th grade party, right?
I probably was there.
Yeah, you were there. You were always there.
Okay. I was always there.
I was a little nervous. We totally sucked. But I had a great time. And man, I've been playing for so many years that I don't really get stage fright. I'm a lot more nervous if I'm playing in front of nobody. The Orange is toured from New York to California, basically. Not at the same time, but it's really hard when you go on tour. Sometimes no one's ever heard of you.
Yeah.
So you play empty rooms sometimes. And that sucks, dude.
So it's basically like you're reflecting energy from how many people are there.
Oh, Oh, yeah.
Kind of. I'll put on the same performance either way, but I think that it's a lot easier to play a packed room than it is to play an empty room.
So when it comes to that, like how important is the stage presence to playing in a packed room?
Oh man, I love it. I absolutely love it. When I have an audience, I can do anything. I mean, I climb on speakers, I jump off stuff. I've had 2 concussions from jumping off in a crowd and crowd surfing.
I typically
Did they
have
not
to
catch you? You just like slammed into the floor?
One time I jumped into a crowd and up front it was all, not to sound like a jerk, it was all girls. So somebody dropped me. They had half of me, and the other half, they dropped me backwards, upside down. I fell. I hit my head on the concrete. A bouncer picked me up and literally threw me back on the stage. And you know what, dude? I sang the whole time. And I had the mic and everything. And I remember when it got me back on the stage, the band, we kept playing, dude. And I was rolling around in the front of the monitors. And it was such a crazy
It's always
night.
a good time when Scott's on stage. I will say that.
It's performance art.
I was just about to ask that. It's like you're an actor on the stage while being a musician.
It's
an
cool to be on
adrenaline
stage.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can do anything you want.
No holds barred.
You can do anything you want. And I don't know. I love it, man. Love it.
Now, how important is it for being on stage? Like someone asks you to be on a show. How's important it to be paid, though? Like
Well,
someone's offering exposure to you. What do you say to them?
I'm a pretty reasonable person. So, I mean, in Dallas, the Orange brings a lot of people. So if the full band shows up, I mean, we have people that we have to pay too, like Sam, our roadie, our tech guy. When you play the big
depends on
rooms
the
in
venue.
Dallas, you get
Because there's
paid.
a lot of people out there that are saying, like, I hate to be paid when someone says exposure. That's just something that they hit a wall there and they don't know if they want to go around it because, some people are focused on the money part of music.
Well, at
which
first-
is kind of a turn off.
Yeah, it
and
is
I
a
don't
turn off.
like-
There's not really a lot of money in music right now. And at first, when you first start a band, you have to. I mean, if you want to play and you're a musician, you're going to want to play, so you will play for free. And I can't say that I don't play for free because I do acoustic shows for friends every once in a while and I get a good bar tab or whatever.
And it's typically a really fun show because
Yeah.
there's no stress. You're just having a good time. You're with friends.
That's what it's all about.
That's what music should be about. It
But
should
when you're
be-
playing a club and you bring several hundred people and they pay $10 to $13 to $20 to play,
Or
You should get paid.
yeah, I mean
compensation there.
you're bringing money, you're offering your services, your band, your music, and people are having a good time and they're making a lot of money on drinks and stuff. So I'm a reasonable person. So if we bring in a lot of business, we expect to be paid very well.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
You know.
It's just versus how big the venue is.
We want to have
Oh, yeah.
fun. It's hard enough to be a musician. If you're not having fun, then probably should be doing something else.
That
You
is
know what
the
I mean?
biggest part about it, man, because these days people just want to put stuff out there and say, where's my money at the end of it?
I think people are getting upset about the money thing because iTunes and Spotify, they pay so terrible.
Yeah, you were talking about how you only
Terrible.
got like 8 cents.
Yeah, I checked our latest bank account from Spotify. We got 8 cents. We just put Sharing Vitamins just a few weeks ago on Spotify, and we've gotten a lot of plays, but you get 0.005 cent, a very small fraction
You
of a
have to get
penny every time
millions
it's
of
downloaded.
hits.
Yeah.
So to have 8 cents, that means that's a hell of a lot of people that are listening to it, right? So if you have $1, that's a whole lot, man. You go to Jack in the Box, get 2 tacos. People are upset. You have to make money at your shows because you're not making money off anything else.
You have to have merchandise. That's
merchandise
really
is
You got to
key.
sell the merch.
that's where you're going to make money if you're in a band. You make sure you have T-shirts. You have
Publishing is a good way to make money.
Oh, definitely. So that could be really discouraging. You might not be making money, or someone has like a negative comment. Like if you have something on Facebook, you know how the internet is. The
Oh,
internet
dude, you
is,
can post anything and people get mad about it.
How do you get over discouraging remarks like negative feedback or comments in press?
I go to a show, honestly. If I feel like I'm about to lose it or I'm like, man, I don't want to play in a band anymore, I go see Jibe. That local band, Jibe's so good.
Get some good jobs.
Oh, man, I go see a show. It's important to get back to why you even do it.
Yeah, whatever inspires you. Scott goes sees a rock band. Sometimes I go see a rock band. I go to operas. I go to ballet. Just whatever inspires you and really just kind of fills up your tank again. That's what you should do.
That's what I like about the both of y'all. There's sometimes musicians just want to talk about themselves, and that's what I love about it. You're just like
Thanks,
this
dude.
band here, Tablet, Jive.
Oh, dude,
it's all
Tablet.
about
Yeah.
They're great, man.
It's all about
Tablet.
helping each other out and just being there for others.
Well,
That's
yeah.
what I like about it. That's what the local music scene's all about. Is just
That's
a
what
big
it should
family.
be. It shouldn't be, oh, we're better than them, blah, blah. And that's typically how some bands are,
There's not a lot of room for that because there's only so many people that really care about local music in this town. I mean, I'm real good friends with Jeff Gage, the music editor for The Observer, and we were talking about basically it's not like Los Angeles in the 1980s where there's thousands and thousands of people that support local bands.
Oh, yeah.
There's a handful of musicians that are really good that play and that have the it quality, right? They know it, and everybody helps each other out, or at least they try to, because there's not like thousands and thousands of people going to shows anymore. I know everyone's talking about how Deep Ellum is so huge now and all these, but you don't really see that big of a rise in the local scene at all. You just don't.
People are just kind of staying at home these days more and more so.
Well, that's true.
So we're getting close to the end times for this little broadcast. Before we go, I wanted to touch just one more thing. What would you say to musicians that are starting? They're waiting for themselves to grow as a band. They just got like a little song recorded off of Garage Tunes. What would you say to them when it comes to how to get out there? What do you need to do as a band? How to get exposed and basically just getting noticed?
Number one, I would say make sure everybody in your band really wants to be in a band. That's the most important
thing. Yeah,
you can have everything lined up, and then somebody will quit.
Outside forces, relationships, job,
basically life.
It's a life choice. I mean, being a musician is a lifestyle. If you're really going to do it, you can't be like one of those guys that really likes to work all week at a regular job and then put on your eyeliner and go out on Saturday and play. I mean, you can be that, but you're never going to get to the level that
you're not going to be a rock star doing that.
Rock star is kind of a weird term now too, but basically speaking, yeah, better to be upfront with people about that than like string along a band or string along other musicians
and try and push people into the mold that you want them to fit, because that's never going to happen.
What's been good about the Orange is that we all like each other. Everyone's very upfront about their expectations in the band.
So basically just be upfront with each other and just make sure everyone's on the same chapter. Because some people might be money driven. Some people will be like, this is what I want to do with the rest of my life.
I mean, it's a horrible business. There's no lie, and there's really not that much money. We almost got a major record deal this last year, but we couldn't seem to land the deal. Our entertainment attorney called us and we talked about it because we don't have enough Facebook likes.
To me, that's just not right.
And YouTube.
Isn't that ridiculous? They wanted to make the Orange sort of a pop group.
I don't want y'all being proud.
Oh, you're so terrible.
And that's just the reality of what the music business is now. You hear these stories, and they're true. Do it. Play in a band because you love it. Make sure everybody in your band has the same expectations, whatever that is. Maybe it is just to hang out and drink some beer and rock out. And
just be committed to your love for music.
Spend the money and do it right. There's a million recordings out there that are terrible. If you're going to do it right.
Go all out if you're going to be really about it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not all out, then why even give a damn? Like, seriously.
And, dude, that's why I'm quitting right now. I'm done with rock and roll. I'm going to smash my guitars. I'm kidding.
I was about to say, did we just see the end of Scott Tucker as a musician?
I'm going into ballet now, full time.
Well, I can see you in a little tutu. Just some spandex.
Hey, I am going to wear a tutu for Halloween. I'm going to be Ace Ventura.
Yeah, he's going to be Ace Ventura. You remember in the football scene? I'm ready, coach. Send me in.
Put me in, coach.
Put me in. Well, this has been a great experience for me. But before we go, is there anything else you wanted to say to local musicians before we tipped over?
Keep your head up. Keep your head up and be sure you dig into the past and check out some of the locals that really have made a splash. It's important to know history, So history does, because if you don't know history, it always repeats itself.
So keep a positive vibe and just keep on going.
Yeah, and a lot of the bands at the Orange we're playing with now, a lot of them are guys that I really respect and admired and went to their shows, and they're kind of helping me to not make bad decisions, I guess, with my music career. And it's great. It's great.
Well, thank you guys for coming in. This has been awesome.
Oh, thank you.
That was Scott and Melissa Tucker with the Orange. Until next time, it's the Local Lounge.
Bye.